Now, as In Question has previously reported, considering the U.S. supports the Saudi Air Force in its war on Yemen by refueling the jets and supplying the weapons wreaking havoc on the country, Secretary Mattis could technically do a bit more than merely ask for a ceasefire. The same could be said for the United Kingdom, a U.S. partner in the war, which recently defended its sale of weapons to the Saudi kingdom, with UK Minister of State for the Middle East and North Africa, Alistair Burt, telling critics, quote, "There is no reason to not support an ally, Saudi Arabia, under fire from missiles." On Wednesday, Prime Minister Theresa May was asked whether or not she supports Mattis's call for a ceasefire. Here's her reply.
We certainly back the US's call for de-escalation in Yemen. He references our role in the United Nations Security Council. In fact, in March we proposed and coordinated a UN Security Council presidential statement which called on the parties to agree steps towards a ceasefire. This remains our position. But as my right honourable friend, the Minister, said in the House, I believe, yesterday, a nationwide ceasefire will only have an effect on the ground if it is underpinned by a political deal between the conflict parties. And my right honourable friend, the Foreign Secretary, discussed this matter with Martin Griffiths, the UN Special Envoy, last night. They agreed that the UK will continue to encourage all parties to agree to de-escalation and to that lasting political deal which will ensure that any ceasefire will hold in the long term.
With UK support for the war in Yemen in question, we're joined now by former UK MP George Galloway. Nice to see you. George, is the Prime Minister's answer there sufficient for you?
Well, you have to be pretty rabid when Mad Dog Mattis is demanding an immediate ceasefire, or more or less immediate, and you are dodging that question. And she doesn't look like a mad dog, but yesterday she sounded like one. The origin of this conundrum, I think, is that Britain is the father of Saudi Arabia. You're only the stepfather in loco parentis. But we were the ones who created the state, and we have, we think, still an extra special relationship with the Saudi Arabian leadership. And perhaps we're trying to steal a march on Uncle Sam with our loyalty right to the end. But although Mattis was talking softly, he is carrying a big stick, as you just pointed out. There can't be a war on Yemen if the United States doesn't support it. So if the United States is calling for a ceasefire within 30 days, then that there will have to be.
All Secretary Mattis would have to do is hand down orders saying no more supplying of Saudi jets, and that would be that. How do you reply to, though, people like UK Prime Minister May and Minister Burt, who we heard, essentially say the Saudis are, being hit by or targeted by Houthi missiles and blame both sides for the bloodshed?
Well, there's no both sides here. We've got American and British armaments of the highest order being used by a powerful air force against people in sandals, people in bare feet, people who are already starving, already suffering from cholera. This is Mike Tyson in the boxing ring with a small child. The Yemeni people have no means to defend themselves against this horrific onslaught. And so to talk about two sides is ridiculous. Britain and America are involved in a civil war in one of the world's very poorest countries, the poorest country in the Arab world by far, and for no good reason. There's no material difference between candidate A or candidate B for the presidency of one of the world's poorest countries. This is proxy warfare. This is us backing and profiting from Saudi Arabia in its regional rivalry with the Islamic Republic of Iran. It's unbecoming, it's demeaning, we should not be involved in it. And the Khashoggi murder was undoubtedly the harbinger of this change of heart. Suddenly all eyes were on Saudi Arabia, and we got to see the true character of the people we were backing.
I'm glad you brought up the case of murdered Saudi writer Jamal Khashoggi, because today Istanbul's chief prosecutor confirmed that his office believes Khashoggi was strangled immediately upon entering the Saudi consulate in the city. This comes essentially as the media's coverage of this saga has really died down. What should come next in this story? And do you believe, are you confident any justice will be delivered here?
I still believe that the consequences of this have much farther to run. I don't believe that the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia will survive it. It's a matter now of time and decorum when he is moved aside, and one of his brothers, I think, taking his place as the Crown Prince. I don't believe that the relationship between the Western countries and Saudi Arabia can ever be the same again, because the sharp spotlight has been shone. People can see them more clearly now. And as I put it on BBC radio recently, you sell them weapons if you like. I don't want to be involved with them. And I think that's the point of view of most in public opinion in this country, and I'm sure also in yours. The Turks must have, in fact I know that they have, audio of what happened to Mr. Khashoggi, or the prosecutor would not be speaking as severely as he has. He was murdered, premeditated, his body was destroyed, and therefore all this talk of where is the body is extraneous, because the body is in a very large number of parts and was taken out of the building in hat boxes. So the Turks have played the game quite well, quite shrewdly, I think, and they are continuing this dance of the seven veils I talked about on your show, Anya, and the dance still has some distance to go yet.
It certainly does. We'll see how it concludes and how long MBS can keep this dance up. Former UK MP George Galloway, talk to you soon.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.